Scientists found the alien buried under ice for thousands of years, frozen, waiting. When they dug it up, they thought they had made the discovery of a lifetime. But they had no idea what they had just unleashed. At an isolated research station in Antarctica, a team of scientists realizes too late that the creature isn't just alive, it can imitate any living thing it touches. It hides in plain sight, taking over bodies and erasing identities. As fear and paranoia take hold, no one knows who to trust. Trapped by the freezing storm outside and hunted by an enemy that wears their friends' faces, survival is no longer about escaping. It's about stopping the thing before it becomes unstoppable. The movie starts with an alien spaceship flying through space and entering Earth's atmosphere near Antarctica. It is unclear if the spaceship lands or crashes. In Antarctica, during the winter of 1982, a helicopter chases a husky across the snowy landscape. A man inside the helicopter shoots at the dog with a rifle and throws grenades trying to kill it. The dog runs toward an American research base, Outpost 31, where a 12-man crew is preparing for the harsh winter. The helicopter, which is from a Norwegian research station, lands nearby. The Americans are confused as two men get out, shouting in a language they don't understand. One of the men pulls the pin on a grenade but accidentally drops it behind him. As the pilot searches for it in the snow, the grenade explodes, killing him and destroying the helicopter. The other Norwegian man continues shooting wildly, hitting one of the Americans, Bennings, in the leg. The leader of the American team, Gary, shoots and kills the frantic man in self-defense. Not knowing why the Norwegians were trying to kill the dog, McCready, the team's helicopter pilot, and their doctor, Copper, go to investigate the Norwegian base. When they arrive, they find the station burned and destroyed, with holes in the walls and a fire axe stuck in one of them. The entire crew is dead. One man appears to have locked himself in the radio room, where he is now frozen to death with his throat and wrists slit, seemingly from suicide. As they continue exploring, Mac and Copper find a large empty block of ice. Outside, they discover burned and frozen bodies of strange, twisted creatures that don't look fully human or animal. They bring one of the bodies back to their base for further examination. When the team's biologist, Blair, performs an autopsy, he finds that, despite its deformed shape, the creature has normal internal organs. That night, the stray husky is placed in the kennel with the team's sled dogs. The other dogs immediately sense something is wrong and start growling. Suddenly, the husky mutates into a horrifying creature with tentacles and crab-like legs, attacking the other dogs. Clark, the dog handler, sees this in shock. McCready hears the terrified cries of the dogs and quickly sounds the fire alarm, waking everyone up. The team rushes to the kennel and sees the monstrous creature attacking and consuming the sled dogs. Part of the creature separates and climbs up into the ceiling. The team shoots at it, then burns it with a flamethrower. Blair examines the remains of the creature and makes a horrifying discovery. It is an alien life form that can imitate other living things by attacking them, consuming them, and then perfectly copying their appearance. The team also finds old video footage from the Norwegian station, showing the scientists standing in a circle around something buried in the ice. They had used explosives to dig it out. The next day, McCready, along with Palmer and Norris, flies to the site where the Norwegians were working. They find a massive alien spaceship inside a crater and climb down to explore. Norris estimates that the ship has been buried in the ice for at least 100,000 years. Near the site, they see a large section of ice missing, the same block the Norwegians had cut out, which likely contained the creature. Back at Outpost 31, McCready tells the team that the Norwegians must have thawed the creature, waking it up, and it attacked them. That night, Blair studies the creature's cells under a microscope and watches in horror as they infect and replicate other cells. He runs a computer simulation which predicts that if the alien reaches civilization, it will take over all life on Earth within just over 3 years. The simulation also estimates that 75% of the team could already be infected. The team stores the remains of the creature in a storage room. Later, Fuchs, the assistant biologist, tells McCready that Blair's notes suggest the creature's cells are still alive in the burned remains. He also believes the alien may have already imitated countless life forms across the universe. Meanwhile, Windows and Bennings prepare the storage room when they suddenly notice movement under a blanket covering the remains. Windows steps out for a moment and returns to find Bennings being attacked, wrapped in slimy tentacles. Windows runs to get the others, But by the time they return, Bennings has escaped outside. They find him in the snow, almost completely transformed, except for his still mutated hands. The team quickly burns him alive and destroys the other creature remains with fire. Realizing the danger, Blair panics. He kills the remaining sled dogs, destroys the helicopter and smashes the radio equipment, cutting off all communication with the outside world. He is trying to prevent the creature from escaping. The team subdues Blair and locks him in a tool shed, sedating him. By the next morning, fear spreads through the camp. No one knows who is infected and who is still human. Dr. Copper suggests using a blood test to find out. However, when he checks the blood storage, he finds that the blood bags have been sabotaged. Someone deliberately destroyed them to prevent the test. Suspicion falls on Gary, Copper, and Clark. McCready takes charge as the new leader, quarantining the three men. Meanwhile, a violent storm forces everyone to stay inside. The paranoia grows and Fuchs, while studying the creature, is attacked by an unseen infected person. His burned body is found outside later, either killed by the creature or burned himself to avoid being taken over. Later, McCready and Knowles check Mac's shack when they notice its lights on, even though Mac had turned them off before. Knowles finds torn clothing with Mac's name on it and panics, thinking Mac is infected. He returns to camp alone, locking McCready outside in the freezing cold. Mac breaks in through a storeroom window and threatens to blow up the entire base with dynamite if they don't let him stay. As tensions rise, Norris suddenly collapses from an apparent heart attack. When Dr. Copper tries to revive him with a defibrillator, Norris' chest opens into a monstrous mouth and bites off Coppa's arms. The team burns the Norris creature, but its head detaches, grows spider-like legs and tries to escape before being incinerated. To determine who is human, McCready comes up with a blood test. Since each part of the creature acts independently, he heats a metal wire and pokes blood samples. If someone is infected, the blood will react. Clark suddenly attacks McCready, but Mac shoots and kills him. As the test continues, McCready discovers that Palmer is infected. Palmer transforms, attacks Windows and bites into his head. McCready burns Palmer, then torches Windows, who was infected from the attack. Now only 4 survivors remain: McCready, Childs, Gary and Knowles. They check on Blair, but he has escaped from the shed and has been secretly building a small spacecraft underneath the station. At that moment, the power shuts off, and they realize the creature wants to freeze itself again, waiting to be found later. McCready, Gary and Knowles decide to destroy the entire base to stop it. As they place explosives, Blair suddenly kills Gary and Knowles disappears. McCready confronts a massive mutated version of Blair, but the creature destroys the detonator. In a desperate move, McCready throws a stick of dynamite, blowing up the creature and the entire station. He barely survives. As the flames consume the camp, McCready stumbles to a shack and finds Childs. Childs claims he got lost while chasing Blair. Neither of them knows if the other is still human, but they are too exhausted to fight. They sit across from each other, sharing a bottle of whiskey, knowing they won't survive the cold. The movie ends as the fire burns down, and the 2 men sit in the freezing night, waiting for what comes next. Subscribe to our channel. It will motivate us to bring more movie recaps for you.